continue as quickly as it did before. Right here, just simply catch that continuation. See how we get in here. Chase it with a market order, do a little super scalp. Not really looking to give it room for it to retrace too much. Buy stop. $4,936. Right, yeah, that's 5 points. I usually don't trade the PM session, but yeah, tonight I'm trading a power hour. That's what I like to call it, from 3 p.m. all the way to market close at 4 p.m. So that last hour of the market. Usually also nice to time. That's the last hour. But most of the time we see thank God it's the end of the day, or thank God it's Friday setups here. Especially if we're currently forming the low of the day. So let's actually check it out on a 1 minute time frame here too. And do an analysis like that. So this is, where's this level coming from? That's, I assume, the VWAP. Hourly analysis. My first target is simply going to be that previous week's low. That's quite the expansion we saw today. Maybe we can catch a retracement short later on. We'll see. Bearish fair value gap. We're going to trade the 1 minute time frame. Bearish fair value gap. Beautifully not respected. Right here, perfect. Let's see if we can catch the continuation. Going to trail my stop above this candle's high. Note the volume imbalance here. Want to see bearish order flow continue. Right here we open with a, where we're at, gap to the downside and another gap to the downside. So I want to ideally see this candle hold resistance here and continue lower, or potentially retrace onto the fair value gap and then head into our sell side objective. I don't want to see that one of the next candles close above this high. Once we took that sell side, we can look for a potential inversion fair value gap setup and maybe take this long for the retracement above short-term highs that we might be leaving behind now. That's the game plan. Got our entry basically on this 1 minute time frame volume imbalance. That's nice. Let's add another one right here and another one right here. Note that we opened with a gap to the upside right here. We closed here, open up right there. Those are just little hints that we can use to determine the strength of order flow right now. Let's take a look at NQ. NQ is also not very far away from hitting 4 standard deviation target and the previous week's low right here. Very close actually. So now we're filled with all 3 contracts. Buy another one right here. New hour opened up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we might have a 5 minute fair value gap here. No, we don't. Like I said, ideally not close above this volume imbalance. Best case scenario, nice, and we actually hold it. And note how we open up. Bearish gap to the downside. Potential short-term high being formed here. Reject and take out sell side. 20 seconds to go. NQ. Yeah, also holding up. We could engineer some liquidity here. So build up some liquidity to dump into later on during the next 30 minutes. We already took the short-term low, so that's the previous hourly candle low if we think about it, between 2 and 3 p.m. Retrace towards the end of that hourly candle, and with that new hourly candle we already took out that low, so that's going to be interesting. Note once again, we open with a gap to the downside of the 50% of this fair value gap. We hit the order block right here, highest up closing candle from where we rejected. Let's see if that all holds up. That's just confluence. Trades don't always play out, even though we have everything aligned. Close above this bearish fair value gap, and I'm out of my short. I'm gonna take off 2 out of 3 contracts. In terms on the higher time frame, this would be our short-term high, and we would be looking at a 5-minute fair value gap right in here. Gonna get a new 15-minute time frame candle in 6 minutes. Yeah, let's see, 1-minute time frame. Note the gap. See how many gaps we start to leave behind? This time we don't even come back to fill it. We always come back to fill them eventually, so this might be a nice target later on. That's our 5-minute fair value gap right here. Let's mark up this gap. Because it's not filled, I like to give it a different color. Let's make this green. And we certainly will see this gap being referenced sooner or later. We open up with another gap right over this old gap. Let's see. So if you're starting to hold now, imagine this being a fair value gap. Bearish fair value gap, we close above it. Now we use it as support and respect it with the candle bodies. If we now use it as support and close above our next bearish inefficiency, that would be an early confirmation for bullish order flow and my first exit. Let's see. We took the high right here. Wait for the candle close. Always wait for the candle to close before you take any trades. Wicks do the damage, bodies tell the story. Get ready to exit. Okay, we closed above, but again we open with a gap to the downside. So let's see how that plays out. Took the high right here. Still no invalidation, so we're gonna remain in the trade. We have our safety stops right here. How was everybody's New York session? Did you trade today? Did you take some trades on the CPI news event? Didn't you? I took a nice shot during London, during the live stream as well here this morning. I can talk about that later. During the AM session, I missed the 1-minute time frame setup, and then, yeah, the AM session was over for me, and I didn't take any other trades after that. I was tempted to go long, but my gut feeling told me not to go long, and that's what I stuck with. But let's focus on the price action right here. 15-minute candle is going to close in 2.5 minutes. Once again, volume imbalance at that same area. Close above this is going to be my invalidation. Then I would be looking for the short-term high to be cleared next. before we eventually deliver into the previous week's low. Wait for the candle to close. Once again, we get rejected. Push back up. 7, 6, what's the time? It's 15:12, so we get a new 15-minute candle soon. One out. Okay, bad spread entry, but now I'm looking forward to see if order flow is actually being respected, or if we're just messing around. I want to see this inversion fair value gap now hold support to deliver higher. Otherwise, well, we're not really respecting fair value gaps the way I anticipated. Safety stop loss. Yeah, well, really just give it a 1-to-1 here. 437. Yeah, max this one right here. Don't want to really see it deeper. Let's see how we close here. Maybe take one off at the 50%. Don't like what I see, to be really honest. Immediately engulfing this candle. Just messing around here apparently. Order block ended up holding, so we're out of this trade. Took the high one more time. So they faked me out here. That's okay. 36 seconds to go. Let's wait for the candle to close. If we look at the 5-minute time frame, no, nothing there. So you see, no matter where I would have placed my stop loss, I would have been stopped. That's why I chose the smaller risk option right here at 4940.75. Saved myself 3 ticks here. Open up with a bullish gap. Yeah, no, we're just chopping around here. I'm gonna try it a second time, closing above and below it. That's not really what I want to see. If we would have seen a bearish volume imbalance here, I would have taken another try. Let's see. This is just a simple continuation play in the end of the day into sell side liquidity, previous week's low. Taking this as my draw on liquidity. I would have anticipated this bearish fair value gap to be respected with candle bodies, but yeah, right now we're seemingly not. 15-minute time frame, new candle open up. 5-minute time frame, bullish volume imbalance to the upside. Let's see. I want to see those equal lows being cleared. Not the best entry, given with the spread. And Q also going sideways here. Interesting. If it would have been for the 5-minute time frame, the only entry would have taken would be right here. So this is what I mean if I say it's much easier to trade on 5. You get in at 4944.5. 4944.5, so at 4939.5, you're gonna take your first partial, 5 points. Very easy. 1-minute time frame sometimes can be a little bit more choppy and messier, because you get much more information in terms of how many fair value gaps you actually end up seeing to, yeah, use them to frame your bias. All right, so we took the low. I'm gonna take a partial right here. See if we just sweep the low and immediately reverse. Not really interested in price going back above this level here. With a little final fake out right here. So let's see how we close here and how we open up. NQ is also continuing lower. New lowest closing candle, but I would prefer the continuation right away. In terms of retracement here, moved up into a premium ICT fib retracement, other way around actually. Right up to the optimum trade entry, and then it rejected this red line right here. Maybe shouldn't have been too precise with the short, but well, usually I exit with 50% of the risk, so I should have closed maybe 2 contracts on all of them. Trail my stop behind here. Buy one stop, put one at break even. Rest is gonna get stopped out right here. 1 point loss. Now we close below the sell side. I want to see that continuation. And then 4940.5, 4953.5 would be my next buy target. Just looking for 5 handles. Taking a partial at previous week's low. Seeing it move away from this area very aggressively. It's not what I would like to see. Just after taking the new low, it's also 15.19. Let's see. Last 5 seconds of the 5-minute candle here. There's no bearish fair value gap whatsoever since 1501. Nothing we can really use other than volume imbalances. Immediate rebalance on a 5-minute time frame. No new bearish fair value gap on this previous 5-minute candle. So we essentially retrace to the low of the previous 5-minute candle. We retrace that, not going to leave behind a higher time frame fair value gap. Starting to form some equal lows here. Gonna keep an eye on NQ. Alright, that next sell side target would be right here. Last Monday's low, previous week's low. Set an alert, so we will be alerted if NQ is going to take that out earlier. We already hit the level. Usually if you trade a funded account, then this would be enough to fill your position. With the paper trading account that I'm using right here, it doesn't. You actually have to go below it with spread, but that's okay. Alright, what happened there? I think MT5 is lagging, thank you, but we can close you. Tap the low again. No, There we go. Stop above the short-term high. See if we can reach our 5-point mark. Now we cleared the previous week's low. NQ did not yet, so there's still room to potentially continue lower. Don't want to see this candle being engulfed. If we do that, I'm going to take my exit. Now that we closed below the previous week's low. So a couple of points in profit. Once again, immediate rebalance here. Not leaving behind a fair value gap. NQ also took sell side, but also starting to reject. And this is exactly why I moved my stop. Because if we're going to reverse once we took that sell side, well, we're not going to stop at the short-term high. We likely take it out. So just took some more profit home with me in the end of the day. So let's see if we can potentially use this as an order block after taking out our drawn liquidity. And keep on trading here. Wait for the candle to close like always. No fair value gaps to the left, short-term highs to the right. Take a quick look at NQ. NQ is also rejecting. A little bit too late. Let's see if I can add another one right on the order block. Yep. This down closing candle followed by the bullish engulfing candle. Want to see if it ends up being used as support. We don't really have a market structure shift to confirm it. PD array. Let's see if we hold support at the 50% or if this is just a fake out. A reaction. Or these buy stops being triggered or activated. 50% of this order block of this down closing candle is also the previous week's low. So far we're holding up here. Take a look at NQ. Close below the previous week's low. Yeah, here as well. Closing below the 50%. Take one contract off. Nice. Let's see if we get out of this order block. What do you mean not even trying to? Yesterday I took the trade only on NQ. But for the PM session here, I don't know, I prefer to do my regular tape reading on ES instead of NQ. Works much better and I've got more experience there. I'm just looking for general setups on NQ, like yesterday's 2022 model or the 930 Judas fake out move with the reversal during the SilverBullet hour. Like the setup more, that's why I took it on NQ. Just having some fun during the PM session to see how well it goes trading the power hour on the 1 minute time frame. Looks pretty choppy so far. We caught the short. We hit our 5-point target. No, we didn't hit our 5-point target, but so far the tape read has been going pretty well, I'd say. I saw a message where you said that you won't trade in Q this week. Yeah, with that message I meant that I'm not only trading in Q. That's what I was. Look at that. Too tight stop here. Order block in the end of the day still would have ended up working. Messy delivery. Stop loss 1 tick below the low would have been appropriate. Now we're running out all these highs. This is essentially our break-in structure with equal low sell side. Same thing here on NQ. Ah, too bad. Yeah, literally got stopped out to the tick here. We're also right around the 30-minute mark of the hourly candle. And we had a decent move to the downside today. If we look at our entire range, we started in London and now basically from the previous week's high to the previous week's low in 1 day. Now we're reacting at the low of the day during the last 30 minutes of the New York session. So I was tempted to go in on this order block, but well, my stop loss was just a little bit too tight. If you look at the 1 minute time frame here on NQ, would have actually worked. Damn it. Let's add a couple of contracts here. Mark out short-term highs. Took the first short-term high. This was all just mess. Not really respected anything here, so I'm gonna get rid of all of them. Here we formed our lower lows. 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes to the downside. At the low we formed our order block. Unfortunately tapped out to the tick here. This was very close. Buy side liquidity above this high. Then we can see if we can get a bigger retracement here. If we would have taken out this low, this would have been a new lower low and 2022 setup after taking out the previous week's low, a higher time frame point of interest. So in terms of the final manipulation, we could look at this move right here and measure standard deviations to the upside to look for potential targets. As a little ruler for measurement of how high we can actually go. Don't even retrace into a fair value gap just yet. NQ is also pushing strongly here above the short-term highs. Took the equal highs and then rejected. Let's see if we can get in a couple more buy limits. I would at least anticipate this high to be hit. $4,941, 4,946 is going to be my take profit target. Looking for 5 points. Eventually looking forward to see this fair value gap right here being inverted, holding support, continuing higher. tried to add a few more contracts right here, but we never tapped into a fair value gap. Next fair value gap on the 1 minute time frame would be all the way up here, around a 2.5 standard deviation. 3.5. Let's see, this could be, yeah, thank God it's Tuesday setup right here at the low of the day, low of the week, below the previous week's low. Let's see how that goes. Take a look at NQ. We also have equal low sell side, so don't forget about that. Come on, let's get a nice up closing candle here, maybe above the 50%. Strong push. Take out this high, close above it, hold support, and continue into this fair value gap. We had the right idea with this order block. Unfortunately, we've just been stopped out. We had our stop too tight. One tick below this level would have actually been fine, and it would have worked out perfectly. Just after seeing, okay, we took out the previous week's low and immediately engulfed this candle. Then we retraced. Yeah, stop loss placement just a little bit too perfectionist. Yeah, took 5 points here, nice. Fortunately, without a retracement yet. Let's see if we can get in on the continuation if we invert this fair value gap right here. 5 points done. We keep on pushing. That's why I like to, well, be in with more than one contract to pass you out, especially when scalping. Now if we retrace all the way into this inversion fair value gap, this would already be kind of too much. Easy short-term high targets on NQ were all hit. All these highs, bum bum bum, taken very efficiently. Can look at our current range and look maybe for the 50% level. We're also just around that corner at 17,595.5. Nice. So we ended up taking a short right here with our stop above here, which would have worked out just fine. But because we closed above this fair value gap right here, I actually decided to close the entire position right here, this fair value gap. I make it gray because it hasn't really been respected. I smell a opportunity here. For 6.75, 4.6, 5 points, 5.1.75 right here. See if we can continue the massively bullish order flow if we're going to reject here. Only going to do it with one contract. Gonna bring my stop loss below this candle's low, because this is a relatively big fair value gap compared to the ones right here. But yeah, we took this short, closed. Usually I would say we should close at least a third of the position right here. If we get this invalidation close above the bearish fair value gap after taking out the previous hour low. Bearish engulfing candle could have been your re-entry short. We continued lower and hit our overall target of 5 points to the tick. So we leave that on here, but we close the position right there. We re-entered short, I think, on this candle right here. Stop loss above this high, 2.5 points. Also targeting 5, but we only hit our first target right here. Rest got stopped out, only engulfing. From here on, I think I caught the continuation move right off this candle, I'm pretty sure. Let's actually, yeah. Stop loss at the previous week's low, target 5 points. Right here. Now I think even earlier. Right here, 5 points. 494, 5.5, something around that. I think I got thrown in somewhere around here. Stop loss at that previous week's low, looking for 5 points. So now we hit 2.5 standard deviations. Bearish fair value gap took out the previous high. Let's see if we can actually continue. Or if this is going to be the high. Let's look at our PD array right here. Let me measure that out, high to low. We're at the 50% level now, and that's magically where we started to go sideways. 2 standard deviations and the 50% of our range right here. So now we're reaching a premium, basically. Entered in a discount, selling in a premium. Why did I actually close the trade? I don't know. That was something my subconscious just did. But basically looking for the continuation of this fair value gap. Stop loss below this low for 5 points. Yeah, nice. So the time is 15:40. 10 more minutes. And then we are within a... We're going to see the injection of liquidity phase. Yeah, we keep on pushing. Damn it, why did I close that trade? Good question, actually. We closed above the bearish fair value gap right here, but we open up with a gap to the downside. Let's see if that actually holds up. Sell side of the curve, buy side of the curve. Next 5 point profit target secured here. Nice. That's good going. 4 standard deviations right here. We keep on pushing relatively strong here. Not looking for the continuation up here. Like I said, initial entry, if it would have tapped you in on the fair value gap, well, I'm curious though. I want to see what that volume imbalance is going to do. If we're just going to shoot up 1542 with the volume imbalance on a very aggressive entry, 5 points. So we hit 4 standard deviations now. Let's see if that's actually it. Inversion fair value gap right here. Inversion fair value gap right here. Taking a continuation entry of the volume imbalance. Again, looking for 5 points. Initial stop loss at this low. Final buy side target up here. Next bearish fair value gap, and then the last bearish fair value gap before we hit buy side, paired with a inversion fair value gap right here. So this is actually what we refer to as a balanced price range. We have a bullish fair value gap right here that has been inverted, and 2 bearish fair value gaps. So I'm simply going to label this as balanced price range, and I'm usually do that in a gray color because we have multiple fair value gaps within the same area, and they're not really far away from each other. 239, 242, and 243. We just left behind another bullish fair value gap. Let's see if we use that highest bullish fair value gap to continue higher, or if our standard deviations is it and we are not interested in continuing into this final buy side target. So I've added one more contract on that highest fair value gap. Gonna sell one right here and the other one at buy side liquidity. If we can get above this balanced price range, let's actually write it down as BPR 12. Interesting. Order rejected. Let's see if we hit our profit target here, our first 5-point profit target of this volume imbalance. I would only recommend taking these aggressive volume imbalance entries if you're really confident in momentum at this point in time. Come on, let's hit our 5-point target. Nice. Stupid spread. So with your typical futures funding firm, that profit target would have been hit. Yep, we're done. And all our profits target have been hit. Nice. Buy side liquidity taken. We eventually pushed through our balanced price range. The time now is 15:46, so we're entering the macro timing window. We had 4 standard deviations. That's not bad at all. Nice. Yeah, I maybe give it a little bit of more weight, because all it really is just multiple fair value gaps layered on top of each other. A inversion fair value gap and 2 bearish fair value gaps. So yeah, I typically use it as a regular fair value gap. Right here, higher high, higher low, market structure shift, inversion fair value gap. We close below it. This could be our first confirmation. And on the same candle, we also close above this bullish fair value gap that has been used as support. We have sell side liquidity right here, 1440, 1445. Test the inversion fair value gap. Stop loss can really be up here. We could even use a smaller stop of 2.5 points here, really. Just want to be our, anticipation right here. Look how we actually use the balanced price range. That's more interesting right now. We close above it. We retested the support and continue higher. So that is essentially a nice 20-point move. Nice. We cut 5 points very precisely out of this move. So we entered 3 times here actually. First we went short until our higher time frame drawn liquidity was hit. Then we turn it around, targeting buy side liquidity. Very clean run to the upside. We got in on our bullish fair value gap right here with the first step, and then on the highest bullish fair value gap right here. After showing us signs that, well, it's not respecting bearish fair value gaps right now, so why would we look for lower prices? Gonna get in line with order flow. Nice. Standard deviation targets are met. Lower low, lower high. I mean, we could, let me actually check that out. Consider this as our final manipulation. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high, market structure shift. And then 4 standard deviations would take us up to 4970. If we want to really reverse here, if we look at the higher time frame to maybe see what's going on. We reached deep discounts. The previous week's low of the previous week's range. So this is our previous week's range, and this is the entire range from the 31st of January. I think at least. Let me go to the hourly time frame. Much easier to see here. So January low all the way to February high. We could also just be looking at the February range right here. We're below the 50%. We hit sell side below the 50%. I would still be looking for the sell side to be met eventually before we continue higher. I mean, we did something very similar last week. We sold off below equal low sell side, and then we just turned around. So just because we're bearish right now doesn't mean that we cannot go back up. We've seen it a couple of times by now. A 5-minute time frame, nice. Yeah, pretty good tape read. Cannot. My man, this tape reading. Yeah, it was a pretty good session. Cannot lie. That's why I like to do these. It's actually good fun. Even though it's just paper trading, it's practice. General practice. I couldn't trade like this on the funding pips accounts, therefore that trading style is just a little bit too quick in my opinion. Then switching over to your different chart and placing your buy limit order, you would have to do that off your phone with a standard lot size, I'd say. Enter with 1 lot right here, 1 lot right there, look for 5 points and make your $200 or something. But on your regular Apex account, this really shouldn't be an issue. Five points, 5 points, 5 points, every time with relatively low risk. If we would have immediately seen this volume imbalance being closed in, we would have closed the position early. Right here, very unfortunate. That's why I like to, if I enter on the order block, we entered right here. Give it 2.5 points. Not, 1 point and a quarter. That's just, too tight. We could just wick the low with 1 tick and then reverse. And 2.5 points, that's not too much risk and gives us a little bit of room to breathe, to make sure we're not getting turtle souped here. That was my mistake, catching the long off the initial order block right here. Then we re-entered once we got that confirmation. added on the first bullish share value gap, added on the volume imbalance, and added on this bullish share value gap right here. Because if you're really in that true bullish order flow, yeah, well, should be respected. Let's look at NQ. NQ didn't take out the high just yet. Nice. So let's see, it's 52. Last couple of minutes inside the power hour. Two and a half, 1.5, 0.5. Yeah, exactly. But that's what we work on every day. Being able to do it like this without even thinking about anything on our accounts. Because if we eventually reach that stage, that's where we really get dangerous, I'd say. That's why I like practicing it like that on my paper trading account. There's no shame in that. Of course, you could also say you're going to practice that on your Apex challenge because you only paid $5 for it. I don't care. But yeah, no, I'm really proud of my results on the paper trading account, and I think you should be too. All right, let me actually take a screenshot here. So during those last couple of minutes, we're also going to see huge volatility. We always see that within the last 5 minute candles on ES here. Always. On a higher time frame, we're almost back inside this hourly bearish fair value gap. Nice. That's power hour for you. And where did we do it off? The balanced price range. Came back to retest it and continued higher from here. Let me take a screenshot here. So, looks like we're getting back to the VWAP. Nice. 1 hour time frame. Yep, back inside the 1 hour bearish value gap after taking sell side. Yeah, session is almost done, so let's leave it at that. Pretty much where ICT claims to be at. But, well, it's easy to tape read in perfect market conditions. If we would have just ended up chopping, well, but if we actually run and you're confident that you can actually do it and tape read it like, yeah, I do, then there's really no issue in my eyes. Then all you have to make sure of is to be, yeah, confident enough to trust that highest bullish share value gap. Trust your gut feeling that if the scenario that you want to see plays out, we take the risk, enter on discounts to continue into our target. holding through all of this now during the last 10 minutes of the PM session here, of the New York session overall. I don't know, yeah, I mean, we have more lower highs right here that we could potentially target in form of a low resistance liquidity run, especially at the injection of liquidity. Always happens at 15:55 and 16, so 4 p.m. New York local time. But yeah, I guess that bearish value gap right here was the draw. But I think we can be pretty happy with the results. All right, are there any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to enter